In this video, we're going to talk about list slicing. A slice is a subsection of a list. Now, a slice is a list itself, but it's a list that contains only a range of elements from another larger list. Sometimes in a program, you'll have a list of data and you'll need to extract some of the elements from that list in order to perform an operation. For example, suppose you have a program that has a company's sales for an entire year. Let's say it has the sales for each month for an entire year in a list. So you would have a list that has 12 pieces of data stored in it. And you want to calculate the total of the first quarter sales, the first 3 months. Well, you could get a slice of that list. You would get just the first 3 elements from the list, and then on that slice you would perform your operation. You would calculate the total. When you want to get a slice of a list, you have to use a slicing expression. A slicing expression tells the Python interpreter which elements you want to extract from another existing list. So to demonstrate that, I've created this list here in the Python shell. It's called names, and it contains these 4 elements: Chris, Megan, Sally, and James. And the indexes of these elements are 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now let's suppose that I want to create another list that contains a slice of this list. And in my slice, I want to get the elements at indexes 1 and 2. I want to get these middle 2 elements here. So let's call the second list, just for arbitrary purposes, let's call it N2. And we're going to assign it the result of our slicing expression. So we're going to get a slice of the names list, so we type names, and then inside of brackets we provide a set of values that tell the interpreter which elements to get. Now we want to start the slice at element 1. Okay, so this element here, this is element 1, so we type that, and then we put a colon, and now we type a number that indicates where we want to stop the slice. But you have to keep in mind that the number that we type here, this marks the end of the slice, but the element at that index will not be included in the slice. So what I want to type here is element 3, because we want to stop at James. We're not going to include James, but we're going to stop at James. And James's index is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so there's my slicing expression. I'm saying give me a slice from names that starts at element 1 and it goes up to but not including element 3. And we're going to assign that to the variable N2. Okay, now if I type N2, that shows me that it indeed references a list containing these 2 elements. As another example, let's say that we want to get a slice containing the first 2 elements and we just want to print that slice. Well, we could use the print function, and as an argument to the print function we could send a slicing expression. And we said we wanted to print the first 2 elements, so we start at element 0 and we're going to end at element 2. And that prints the first 2 elements. Now, if you leave out the starting index in a slicing expression, Python will automatically use 0 as the starting index. For example, if I print if I use this as my slicing expression, so here in this statement I'm printing a slice from names. I left out the starting index, so we're going to start at 0, and then index 2 marks the end of the slice, so we should get the same result as in the previous statement, and that's what we got. If you leave out the second number, then Python will use the length of the list as the value of the second number. So let's try that one out. Names, and I'll start at 2, index 2, and we're going to leave out the second number. So that gives us Sally and James. So as you can see, 0, 1, 2. 2 is the beginning of the slice, and it just includes all of the elements from that point on to the end of the list. And if you leave out both numbers in a slicing expression, well, the slice will contain all of the elements of the original list. For example, this should print all of the elements of the names list, and it does. Now, you should note that Python will not raise an exception. It will not cause an error if you use an invalid index in a slicing expression. In fact, there are predefined ways in which a slicing expression will behave if you use an invalid index as one of the values. And to demonstrate that, I've created another list. This list is named letters, and it contains these 7 elements. It's the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So we have 7 elements, and the valid indexes in this list are 0 through 6. So let me create a slicing expression that contains an invalid index. I'm going to start the slice at element 0, and I'm going to use the length of the list as the end. Now, keep in mind that there is no index 7 in this list. 7 is the length of the list, but the last element is actually at index 6. So by using this value, which is greater than the last valid index, I actually got the entire list. We started at element 0, and since the ending position was a point beyond the end of the list, then we simply got the entire list. If I did something like this, if I said let's start at index 4 and go to index 10, well, once again, there is no valid index 10, so our slice will begin at index 4, and it will go to the end of the list, and there's the slice that we get. In all of the examples that we've seen so far, our slices have contained consecutive elements from the list where we obtained them. For example, let me print the result of this slicing expression. I'm going to slice the letters list beginning at element 2, ending at element 5. And that gives us the elements C, D, and E. So these are consecutive elements. Now, slicing expressions use a step value, and the default step value is 1. And what that means is that in this expression, the interpreter goes to element 2, and it gets that element, and then it steps to the next element, and it gets it, and then it steps to the next element, and it gets it. That's a step value of 1. If you want a step value of 2, then you're going to get every other element. And you can actually specify the step value in the slicing expression. For example, I'm going to slice the letters list beginning this time at element 0. We're going to go to the end of the list, and I'm going to provide a third number. Notice that I've typed another colon, and I'm going to provide a third number, which is the step value. So this time, I'm telling the interpreter, use a step value of 2. Give me every other element. And so here you see that beginning at element 0, I got every other element in the list. I can actually get every third element if I want to. Letters start at 0, end at 7, and give me every third element. You can see that in this example, I got every third element. An alternative way to do that, actually a simpler way, would be to just leave out the starting index, leave out the ending index, and provide the step value. That gives me the same list, because remember, when we leave out the starting value, then it defaults to 0. When we leave out the ending value, it defaults to the length of the list.